Welcome to the Countertop. So today I'm doing a recipe from this book, the Meatball Shop Cookbook. It's a very simple, actually very simple book. It's pretty much talking about their history overall, things that you can like understanding how to make ahead, storing the meatballs, doing the saucing, reheating the meatballs. The book is separated in, of course, the balls part, which pretty much gives a lot of recipes about meatballs. The second one is related to the sauces. The third one is the sides. The fourth is veggies. Fifth, salads. And sixth, finally, the sweets. About the Meatball Shop, so to give us some of like background on the Meatball Shop. So they're very like common and popular place in New York. They have like 5 or 6 restaurants, I believe. And they serve pretty much a menu that consists in some meatballs, some sauces, and some sides. Basically that they have meat, lamb, chicken, some veggie, and some special meatballs. Then they have like some different sides and sauces. And then you pretty much do a mix and match by yourself. And then on the desserts, they quite do the same with the ice cream sandwich. So you choose the cookie and you choose the ice cream and they make for you. Pretty simple, pretty like super comfy food. And I think everyone kind of like comfy food overall. So that's why I choose this book today. And the recipe I'm going to do today is not just one, but actually 2. So it's of course, the classic meatball, which is pretty simple, but the idea here is for you to understand when I do these, it's for you to understand the basics of doing a meatball. After you understand these, you pretty much can do whatever iterations you want. So if you want to change from beef to lamb, from chicken, or changing some of the ingredients and the spices and so on, it would be super easy for you to do. And also the other recipe that I'm doing together in the sauces, which is actually the first one, the classic tomato sauce. And the idea is to have these two bake it together, very simple, so we can make like the classic spaghetti and meatball dish for you guys. Cool. All right, let's go to the ingredients. All right, so now I have the ingredients for the classic sauce, what they call classic sauce. If my grandma see that, she probably would say like, this is not a sauce, this is just a finto or a fake sauce. Anyway, but that's the recipe, so that's what we're gonna do. So what they call in the recipe is 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 garlic cloves chopped, 1 finely diced onion, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 28 ounces of whole plum tomatoes. You can chop that and keep the liquid, 1 bay leaf and oregano. You can still use 1 teaspoon of fresh chopped or 1/2 teaspoon of dry one. And of course, you can put like 2 teaspoons of salt. And if you like, which I do, you can put some black pepper on it. All right, so let's do it. The reason we're doing these first is because these needs to cook for at least 1 hour. So for us to have the right time while we're doing these to make the meatballs, so this is make more sense for us to do this first and then go to the meatballs. In the meantime, while we're starting to do our sauce, we're going to heat our oven to start to roast the meatballs. To roast the meatballs, you need 230 degrees Celsius or 450 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so let's start doing the sauce. So the oil, let's heat the oil. Very simple. Putting everything here in the bowl first. The onions, the bay leaf, the garlic, and the oregano. And we're gonna put also 2 teaspoons of salt, which is basically the way I'm doing right now. Very measurable. Then you're gonna cook these on medium heat for something roughly around 10 minutes. Just mix a little bit to incorporate everything together. After 10 minutes or so, you start to see like the onions start getting like a little bit like burn and translucent. Then it's time to add the tomato paste. So, and mix and try to like disassemble these chunks here. And then you cook for more 5 minutes and so until you create some kind of like a sofrito, which is basically it's a classic base for most of the Italian sauces as well. Spain always have these in their cuisine too. So you create this sofrito pretty much, and at this stage, like after you cook these for more 5 minutes or so, you could save these and store these like in ice trays and put in the freezer, and then you can start using these as needed to do sauces and something like that. So it's very useful as well if you want to save something like this. You can put more taste. You can put some basil. You can put more garlic if you want. Normally I prefer to have on the sofritos more garlic. But these could be a very easy to go and easy to use base overall. All right, so now we have this cook. We lower a little bit more the burner. You put all the tomatoes here. You mix to incorporate, and then you put back on medium high until you start boiling. And then as it starts boiling, you reduce again and leave here for 1 hour. All right, so while the sauce is in the stove cooking for that period, about something around 1 hour, let's start doing the meatballs. So on the meatballs, what we need as ingredients is 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1/4 cup of fresh parsley, 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, 1 cup of ricotta, 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 tablespoon of fresh oregano, or maybe if you don't have it fresh, you can dry it, but then you use 1 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground fennel, and 2 teaspoons of salt. So that is pretty much the ingredients as a base for your meatball. And starting with here, you can also change things. So they use ricotta mostly because to be a more light and fluffy meatball. You can also change these to a Parmesan or a Pecorino to have like a stronger cheese taste, to be more dense. You can change, of course, the ground beef to lamb, chicken, and so on, and then you start to integrate the ingredients. So if you use lamb, you could use some mint instead of parsley. You probably leave the oregano out, and so on. So you start playing around with those ingredients and playing along. Sauces here, from time to time, is good like to give a little stir here, like just to make everything mix well blended somehow, and just let it go for 1 hour. And now let's go back to the meatballs. I already have here a tray that like I put some olive oil in here. So this is the tray that we're going to put the meatballs in the oven. So we could mix these pretty much like just mix by hand and get the things dirty, or you can just be lazy, just like me, and grab and put everything in a stand mixer. So beef, breadcrumbs, the ricotta, the parsley, the oregano, the salt and the fennel, 2 eggs, and the olive oil. Also, I'm doing these in this way also because besides being easier, it's also like a big bowl that's good to have all the ingredients then to scoop. So you just mix enough to blend everything together until you see like a big mass with everything blended. It's not a big deal, it's quite easy actually to do that. But I like to use this stand mixer mostly because you can evenly mix everything. You already have pretty amount of dirty dishes to wash anyway, so that's not a big deal. All right, I think that's enough. So let's take these out. So as you can see, you have pretty much super well mixed. And now we're gonna make the balls. Cool, so now let's make the balls. I normally use an ice cream scoop, so it makes everything easier. You just scoop the balls here first, just pretty much to get your right amount to make your balls. This is pretty big balls, actually. You can make smaller. Great, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And according to the book, they say it makes around 2 dozens. It doesn't, probably because I make a little bit bigger than that. So now, what I like to do on meatballs, also to maintain that consistency after, is to pretty much heat the meatballs in my hand and like actually make the balls and then putting in the baking tray. One key thing on the baking tray that I learned is like, and what they actually also mention in the book, is you need to put one meatball touching each other, so because they don't like to be alone in the oven, probably. So I ended up changing the baking sheet to a 1/4 one, so to make it a little bit smaller and so we can put in the oven this way. So now these goes for the oven for something around 20 minutes. After this 20 minutes, you remove from the oven, you put like a little bit of the tomato sauce in here, and then you put back in the oven something around 15 minutes. So now I remove from the oven after 20 minutes. I put some of the sauce that is already ready here. This is going to the oven for another 15 minutes. In the meantime, I put some water to boil, so to make some spaghetti. And after those 15 minutes, we have our dinner. And here is our super simple and classic spaghetti and meatballs. Just to finalize, some cheese on top of it, because who doesn't like cheese. And that's it for today. Hope you guys like it, and see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.